Welcome everybody to another new EV Ramblings video. It's been a while since I've actually uploaded a video or recorded one, and I don't know, lots of reasons for it. I had a really busy summer and I just kind of haven't been very motivated recently. I don't know why, it's just a bit of a funk. But anyways, an event happened on my 2012 Nissan Leaf. This car is my wife's car. I don't drive it a lot, but it does get driven quite often, Monday to Friday, about 40-kilometer trip. And I recently lost one of the 12 bars. So there's 12 bars on a Nissan Leaf, which indicates state of health. So I'm down to 11. And I had used a little app on my phone a while ago to check the state of the battery health. And because I was surprised that I hadn't lost any that first bar yet, just because we charge whenever we want. We don't really go out of our way to do healthy habits with this car. And it was kind of at like 88%, which is like the very lowest threshold. And so the bar's gone now, I'm on 11, and I was kind of surprised it's dropped to about 84%. So based out of like a perfectly good battery, this car has lost about 16% capacity. Now it's possible though that you could buy a Leaf, a used Leaf, let's say, or even a new one, and it could show 12 bars, but right off the lot it could only be 95% or 94%. Essentially Nissan is just guaranteeing that you have a certain amount that you have within that range of 12 bars when you drive it off the lot. So this kind of got me thinking, especially with the new Nissan Leaf announced, and it's really sexy looking car, and then you have like the Chevy Bolt and the Tesla Model 3 and all these other cars getting huge battery upgrades, and like the second generation is here. It got me thinking of, is it worth it to buy a first gen Nissan Leaf? And that's what this video is essentially going to be focused on. I'm going to look at, I'm going to talk about, my thoughts about whether you should do that or not. And I'm going to take the car for a drive, and we're going to see what kind of some real world examples of this car driving with a 16% essentially battery capacity loss. Is it still worth your money? Like, maybe you should just skip over these, but we'll come to that conclusion, I hope, by the end of this. So I'm going to basically just set up my camera here in this car. We're going to take it out for quite a drive. It's a beautiful October day. This is late October in Victoria, British Columbia, and this is extremely unusual. So I'm not even sure I'm going to have climate control on. I might turn it on just to show what happens. But let's go for a ride. And as always, please leave comments, and thank you for watching. See ya. All right, I'm back. The camera equipment's all set up, and we're ready to take this car for a nice drive. This is, once again, a 2012 Nissan Leaf SL. This is the first, this car was basically produced in 2011, 2012 in Japan only. And it was advertised as having a 24 kilowatt hour battery. But realistically, 4 of those kilowatt hours were basically put for reserves and untouchable. So realistically, you only had access to about 20. I'm at a loss of about 16%, which is significant. So I think we're just going to get driving, and I'm just going to free talk like I normally do. I tried to clean all the screens, but I turned the car on, and I've reset the trip meter on the dash here. I'm also going to be using some extra cameras with my hands to try to get some additional footage. Now I'm going to go into the zero emissions button here, and I click on energy info. And essentially this shows us our driving range. So we're estimated at 124 kilometers. If I turn on climate control right now, it's estimating that we're going to lose 20 kilometers of range. And then in terms of, there's no power usage really going on except for other systems right now. That's essentially a quarter of a kilowatt power consumption. So, and then here, I'll use this for the dash here. So, as you can see, I'm at 55,436 kilometers. My average economy right now is 6.2 kilowatt hour. 6.2 kilometers per kilowatt hour, which is pretty reasonable. I know my wife usually has climate control on for her trip. As if her daily trip's about 40 kilometers, the range of this car, even with the reduced capacity, is no issue. And you can also see here, this is the state of the charge, and this is the state of the battery. So the battery itself, you can see it doesn't go all the way to the top. So the battery's charged as much as it can go, but the capacity has been dropped, and that's what those little tells me, and then this left side is the battery temperature. The Nissan Leaf is air-cooled in terms of battery, whereas everyone else is kind of like a liquid-cooled system. A little bit controversial, but we'll talk about that maybe in a little while. So, before I turn the car on, I'm going to do the park brake, go in reverse, and we'll go. If you happen to have watched some of my other videos, especially the Kia Soul and the BMW i3, you will recognize this route. I'm essentially going to take it out to the same route. I'm hoping it's not going to be super busy. I'm also going to make this kind of a driving reaction too, as I don't drive this car that often. But let's say you are looking for a used Nissan Leaf. And we're going to discuss whether you should or not. But there's one thing that really kills me with this car, it's always killed with me, is the brakes. Like, they are so twitchy. They grab so hard. I think it's just Nissan didn't balance the engine braking with the physical brakes very well. So they both come on really hard, and so it's very hard to get a smooth stop. And you may notice that while I'm driving. So, okay, let's say you don't know anything about EVs. You're welcome to my channel. Check out my other videos. But let's start off with the Nissan Leaf as a concept. The Nissan Leaf is the world's best-selling electric vehicle. Like Tesla, Chevrolet, whatever. Nissan has sold more EVs. And I think this car has surpassed 300,000 global sales, which, you know, for like your bread and butter, like a Honda Civic or something like that, that's a low number. But for a car that's Canadian, this, you know, sells for about 40,000 in the upper trim level. That's quite a big number. And this car had a huge amount of hate and superstition around it, especially the most famous would be like Top Gear, with them saying that it's going to cost you $20,000 or whatever to replace your batteries, and they're going to die after like 5 years or whatever. It'll be useless, and that the car has no range, and you're going to get stuck. And obviously, this is perpetuated to all makes and models. I recently read like something about the Chevrolet Bolt, about how, you know, it's stupid because there's no charging infrastructure. Like, you should only be buying a Tesla. And extreme statements like that just don't do the market or do anyone any favors. Charging infrastructure exists in a lot of places. It's poor in others, but that doesn't mean that it can't be made better. It's very easy to make charging infrastructure, actually. Electricity is essentially everywhere. But anyway, so there's a lot of things that a lot of people don't, that they have preconceptions about a Leaf, which would make them just say, I'm not going to buy one. And that was hard to overcome, and that's a reason why I created like my blog and my YouTube channel, was to try to increase the awareness of the vehicles, understand that, you know, a lot of those things that you know are wrong. So we're in second generation now. Nissan has unveiled the new Leaf. The new Leaf is built on the same platform as this one. So essentially it's the same configuration, but the car looks way more normal, and it looks sexy too. It looks good. And that's one of the things that I hear a lot of people, like nowadays, like current day, they say they won't buy this car because it's ugly. I would argue that this car isn't ugly. I would argue that this car is different. It's not styled like the normal mainstream idea of what makes a car look really good or look sexy or hot. But I think this car is a very nice looking car. There's a lot of lines on it and that I really enjoy and like. And, you know, I think just if that's your mindset that you hate how this car looks, try to give it a second chance. But the new generation Leaf has solved that issue. But aesthetics aside, that doesn't really matter. That's not the big point. The big point is with the new car is that from straight off of the factory lot, it has at least double the range of this car new, which is massive. So there are huge advantages to the second gen. So you have 300,000 odd used Nissan Leafs in the world now. course, some of them have been written off. A lot of them, well, the market in Victoria, British Columbia for used Leafs is insane. It's a huge industry for local companies to bring in United States off-lease cars and sell them. And the profit is massive. But chances are, if you're looking at used electric vehicles because you don't like the sticker shock of it, or you want to experience what electric car is like, or maybe you just don't buy new. There's a lot of people who refuse to buy new because on any new car there's a massive amount of depreciation. And you're going to be getting a car like this, which has battery capacity loss. That's just the way it is with electric cars. You're going to lose capacity. It's not like it's ever probably going to get to a point where you're only going to have 20% capacity or 50%. Like, you're going to lose a chunk off the beginning, and then it should level out. But that's a really hard thing for people to get over. And I happen to know that, based on experience from some used car dealerships that brought in Leafs without knowing what they bought, they brought in like cars that had 11 bars, and they couldn't sell them off the lot until they reduced the price significantly. So I know that my car now, like, even though it was a $42,000 car off the lot, there was a huge incentive in the time when I bought it though, that for me to sell this right now would be very difficult, because people want to get the most they can out of the car that they buy. Sorry, I'm going to divert my thing. If you're looking down here, I'll put it back in drive. We were showing 124 kilometers of range. We're now at 128. This is the Nissan Leaf guessometer. It likes guessing what your range is based on current driving situations. So, okay, so back on to battery capacity loss, and that's what triggered me to make this video. So you're going to have to accept, though, that as these cars get older, they're going to have capacity loss, and you're just going to have to deal with that if you want to buy one. I'd like to say, though, that every vehicle, combustion or not, has performance degradation, which will reduce your effective range per your energy storage. I think I said that in a way that makes sense. So, a gasoline car, not long into it, things start degrading on the cars, like ignition spark, compression, basically your air-fuel mixture based on what's coming out of the motor will affect how the car fires. The ignition, which determines the burn. So an older car is actually going to go less distance than when it was brand new per tank of gas, just based on performance loss or efficiency loss. So an electric vehicle is really no different in that respect, except an electric vehicle like the Nissan Leaf will perform the same in terms of driving characteristics. So if I put the accelerator down right now, it accelerates just like it did off the lot when I bought it 4 years ago. Which is super cool, from a geek standpoint, or just wanting to know that I'm getting the optimal level of efficiency or how the vehicle performs and drives. That's something that always bothered me with combustion vehicles. So those are just something to think about. I kind of need to think about, though, if I would buy one of these right now. There's so many more options available. Not used, though. When you look at all the other cars available, like the Kia Soul EV, the BMW i3, I'm not going to include the Chevy Bolt in this one, but there's some newer cars like the Hyundai Ioniq EV, There's obviously the Fiat 500e. Some places are importing those. There's a few of them up here in Victoria. Ford Focus Electric, the Volkswagen e-Golf, the Tesla line, like the Model S, the Model X. I'm sure I'm missing a couple. There's the Mitsubishi i-Me EV as well, but I don't know if I suggest anybody buy that car. So there's a lot of options to choose from. You're going to have a bigger choice of the Nissan Leaf just simply because more were sold, but it's not like a gasoline car, which I've just kind of already explained. Whereas I can go look at 20 Toyota Corollas that are 5 or 6 years old, and chances are each one of them is going to be, or a lot of them are going to be different and based on how they drive or how people have treated them. And I'm going to be looking for the best one. Electric vehicle, that doesn't really exist. What you're looking for is battery capacity and the overall health of the car in terms of like build and chassis. Like, is it rusted out? How are the tires? Is the suspension kind of screwed up? Like, but those are just things that you would look for in any car as well. But in terms of how the car drives, they should essentially all be exactly the same. Like for that product year, like a 2012 Nissan Leaf, mine or someone else's should be performing exactly the same. The only difference is going to be what range it gets because of the battery health. So capacity means something to a lot of people. It's a very important thing with the car. The greater the capacity, essentially the greater the vehicle. That's the defining factor. But so far we've driven 9 kilometers. We're showing essentially, we've gone down a bar on the display here. So we have used range, but we're going more efficient than I thought. So we're still showing, 120 kilometers of drive mode range. So we've gone about 10 kilometers and used up about 5 kilometers range. All right, let's go for a drive. So, come up to a stoplight. I've driven 16 kilometers. We're showing 112 kilometers under drive. I'm not going to be super energy efficient here. So, when this light turns green, I'm going to put the accelerator down just to kind of show you what you can expect from this type of vehicle. Okay, down. 30, 45, 50, 50, 60, 65, 70. Okay, that's good enough. Pretty fast. I do like that. I have a lot more driving to do, and whenever I kind of give the acceleration like that, well, I'll switch to this camera so you can see the usage. I didn't really explain this graph. Right now, it's showing negative, so we're generating, like it's showing past the 0. Then above that, if I put the accelerator down, it shows how much power we're using. This is in kilowatts. So, you probably won't be able to see it, but on the dash here, I have a little tree that's planted. And there's a little bar above it that's kind of jumping all around. Based on how eco-friendly I'm driving, it grows a digital tree and plants it. It's supposed to be incentive. It's like I guess it's a video game. So I'm going to put it back in eco mode. Eco mode automatically means you generate more trees. We'll see how many trees we can get out of this voyage. I'm just out enjoying a drive, and I am enjoying it. If there was less traffic, I would be enjoying it more, and I'd be using more energy because I would be driving a little bit faster or a little bit stupid. Yeah, stupid's a good word. But, yeah, I'm going to follow these motorcycles in front of me. They're out because it's a glorious day. I'm out because it's a glorious day. I am having fun, which, for a car that's 5 years old that people said would be like one of the stupidest decisions you could do, I'd have to say that they're totally wrong. This is a good time. So yeah, let's go back to driving. Performing great, and I just hit 31.1 kilometers, 31.2 now. So let me go back into drive. So this is at the quarter point of how far it said we can go, because it said we can go 124 kilometers when we left my house. It's now showing I have 97 kilometers of range. So that's pretty bang on. 36 and 90. So we're getting a little bit more than what I anticipated. But now here's one thing to consider though. This is total range. One of the things that I have brought up in my other YouTube videos is that a car with a range extender like the Volt or the BMW i3, you can use all of the battery. This car I can't. If I do use all the battery, I will just stop. It's like using all of your gas when you don't have any other backup. So realistically, like I don't have 97 or 98 kilometers right now. I'm gonna get back home probably when there's 30 or something like that. But yeah, right now the car is doing awesome. I'm actually in a section of the road of Vancouver Island that I rarely go down. Like I went down here twice in the evening over the past 20 years or whatever. So I don't actually really know where we are. If you are comfortable financially, you're okay buying new. And with an electric car, any electric car, the cost of operating them is so low that if you are regularly driving a combustion vehicle, you could save so much money by buying one of these. And let's say you can afford a new car. You should not buy a first generation Nissan Leaf. You shouldn't do it. You should buy a second generation EV. The new Leaf, the new Chevy Bolt, B-O-L-T, the new i3, the new Ioniq, the new Kia Soul, the new Tesla Model 3. Buy one of those. Get the latest tech, get the longest range. That just enables you to do more with the car. And I really am lost right now. I don't know where I am. I'm going to keep going. So yeah, don't even think about buying one of these. You're getting older tech. Whoa. That was unsafe. Okay. But whether you should buy this car or not is going to be situation based. Whether you should buy a used Nissan Leaf first gen. So, let's say you are a 2-car family. You have 2 cars. Let's say both are gas. Chances are they would be. And one of those should be electric. Unless both cars are being used all the time and you're driving 100 miles a day on each one, chances are one of those cars is going to fit into a commuter car which is within a 35 mile, 65 kilometer, 60 kilometer circle. A used Nissan Leaf with capacity loss like this, right now, this is October 2017, you could probably get for $12,000 easy. And you have your second gas-powered car as your backup, right? For your long trips, you are going to save so much money, so much. You're going to have a great driving experience. I can guarantee you that. Just right now, me driving this car for this distance, it's awesome. I know where we are. We're at the BC Ferry Terminal. Victoria South, so we're going to go on the highway now. And although it's controversial, but it is true, you are going to be producing less pollution driving this car than a gasoline car or hybrid or whatever. I don't care. It's just the way it is. Even if your major energy from your area comes from coal, or the fact that building this car creates more pollution at the beginning than a combustion car at the moment, the lifespan of the car, you using it regularly, quickly depletes, gets rid of any of those downsides. This car is better for air quality, for your health, I would even say for your well-being. Like, it's just way more relaxing to drive. Like, it's calming. You still have fun, but it's just a really good experience, man. So, if you have two cars and you're commuting regularly, yes, you should buy one of these used Nissan Leafs. Go and buy a 2011 or 2012 that has battery capacity loss like I do, and do yourself a favor. You're not going to regret it. So that's two situations. Let's come up with another one. You have one car. You live in a city. You live in a condo or apartment without access to electricity. So there's no power plugs. There's nothing you can do about that. Should you buy a used Nissan Leaf? No. You shouldn't buy a used Nissan Leaf. Like, you should buy it for like the environment reasons and like the cost saving reasons, but in terms of you being able to use it and stress, it's a bad choice, because you're gonna have to charge this car every 3 days, or 2 days or 3 days if you're doing regular kind of basic commuting. And that's going to be tough. Even with the rapid charger network, it's getting busy. You have to wait. You're working Monday to Friday. Chances are you're going to get really tired of scouring the public network or waiting in line to charge your car. You might not. I know people that do it. It's just, I don't think you should do it. I think you should hold out. Or buy new, like the second generation car, like the new Leaf, which gets double the range. Like, you're probably only have to charge once a week. That's no problem. You're going to be going somewhere to get groceries or shopping or whatever on the weekend. Charge then. It's just this car with capacity loss, the first gen Leaf, the battery is too small for that, I think, to be a viable solution. So, like, there are other options, obviously, like the Chevrolet Volt with a gas generator, or the i3 with the range extender, the gas range extender as well. Those are all usable options. The i3 is kind of the better choice in that situation because you have rapid charging capability and a bigger battery range, whereas the Volt, you don't have rapid charging capability, so you're reliant on the slower level 2 chargers. But honestly, yeah, like, you should just try to get a second generation EV. It's going to make your life so much easier. You're going to reap the benefits. Okay, scenario 4. You have one car, you don't live in an urban jungle, you have a house. So you have access, and let's say, yeah, you have access to power. You can install a charger or a regular wall outlet somewhere. And that isn't a big advantage to these cars. You can charge them overnight while you sleep with the standard, like, 110 power outlet. Should you buy a used Nissan Leaf first generation if you only have one car? And there are a lot of people who only have one car. There's a lot of people that have 3 or 4 cars. Of course, like, I live on the West Coast, Vancouver Island. Like, we're even, like, the most right-wing conservative people are essentially still hippies when you compare it to a lot of the majority of Canada. So there's a lot of people here that only have one car, and they do that for cost savings. They do it for environmental reasons. Maybe they just don't have the parking. I don't know. But you know, it's tough because it's your only car. If it's your only car, then I don't know. I don't think I'd do it. I think that the new models are too enticing. Like, there's too many benefits from the second generation for me to think that buying a used Nissan Leaf to have as your only car, even if you have access to charging, is a good idea. There's obviously going to be situations where people can make that work and it makes sense. But I think for the majority of people it doesn't make sense. Even though the car is fantastic and there's lots of options, a car like the Chevrolet Volt, which you know is electric, as long as there's battery storage, it drives electric. It's once you're on a battery, a gas generator basically makes electricity. I think that car makes way more sense as a single vehicle access to daily charging. That's the way I use my Volt. Is every night I basically plug it in. And you drive it, plug it in, and then once every 2 months or whatever, I'll go for a long drive. Like I'll drive down to California, or I'll go to Tofino or Vancouver or whatever, and I'll use some gas then. I don't think a first generation used Nissan Leaf with the lower range, especially with battery depletion, the battery loss, makes sense. Don't think that's a good idea. Yeah. Alright, so we're coming closer to our finish. We've gone 63 kilometers now, so this is more than halfway, just over halfway from when we started, when it said we'd have 124 kilometers range. So if we realistically got that, we would be at 62 kilometers remaining. We have 59 kilometers remaining right now. So it's awfully close. Even though the numbers kind of jump up and down considerably, you know, it's at the end it ends up being pretty accurate. But I'm satisfied with what we're getting so far. We've been driving, I don't know, more than an hour. And it's been non-stop driving. I haven't taken any breaks or anything. Holy traffic. I have no regrets buying this car. I bought it new. This was a 2012 car I bought new in 2013 because they were sitting on inventory. Oh, this is going to be fun. Alright, so that's a Volvo C30 T5. Yeah, let's go. And that's a Honda Civic. And neither have any chance. Suckers! I think that's something to, that one moment there is something to take away from this. Is that this car, like, just off the line, fun as hell. Like, in all the EVs, like the Bolt, the new Bolt and the Ioniq and stuff, like, they're even to, like, a higher level of silliness or ridiculousness. It's just, that's so fun. If this car was written off, though, like if I was in an accident with the car, or if it was stolen, or whatever, it was to the point. I wouldn't want another one of these. I probably would buy one just because of the financial reasons. Like, I'm sure the insurance company, like, they're not going to give me $30,000. They're probably going to give me $12,000 or $15,000. But the condition of this car is very good. Actually, that's an interesting idea. The insurance company probably wouldn't measure battery capacity. They would just look at the quality of the vehicle, like physically, and mileage. So you actually could probably make money. Not that I'm condoning insurance fraud. I work for an insurance company. Don't do insurance fraud. But, you know, let's say I'm given, I'm just going to say $15,000. Let's say I'm giving $15,000 because this is an accident. Someone sideswipes me through an intersection and writes off the car. What do I do? Financially, I should probably just go out and buy a new Leaf. Second generation. But passion-wise, I would want a second generation EV. Like, I definitely wouldn't buy a 2012 Leaf. I'd be buying the 2013 or 2014 that has some improvements, like if I was going to buy another used Leaf. But I would probably buy the new second generation Leaf. And that's over the Chevrolet Bolt, B-O-L-T. Also, General Motors' worst decision ever to have the car called a Volt and one called a Bolt. You should have just called it a Volt battery edition or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, the Bolt I love. 60 kilowatt hour, huge. It's huge storage. But it's expensive. It's $40,000. Whereas the new Leaf, prices have come down. I'm pretty sure I can get a base model new Leaf for somewhere in the mid to lower 30s, plus the purchase incentive. And, you know, I'm getting double the battery range. I'm getting all the new tech, like smartphone integration and all that. Yeah, I wouldn't buy it. I've been there, done that. Yeah, no, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this car. It's a fantastic vehicle. It's so good. But I'm gonna say you shouldn't buy it. And I'm a huge EV advocate, and I'm saying you should buy an electric vehicle. I'm just if you have the ability, you should buy the second generation one. You should buy the second generation Leaf, or the new Ioniq, or whatever, or the Bolt. And you shouldn't buy this car. If you don't have the means, like if a new car is not in the cards, and you need something right now, and you're okay, like on the charging front, like plugging the car in, you have that ability, then yes, it's a no-brainer. It makes sense. So much money saved off the initial purchase price. But if you can stretch, or if it's not that big of a stretch for you or whatever, no, you shouldn't buy this car. That's going to be my final. That's going to be my final. It still comes down to situation based whether you should or not. All right, so we're back at my place. Let's turn the car off. And I'm gonna pop the front to charge it. All right. Whoa, you're a little crooked. So, thanks for watching my YouTube video. I'm really hoping that Nissan Canada will, or one of the local dealerships will let me use the new Leaf once it comes out. Like, I have ignored the Leaf in my content. I've really focused on the Volt and obviously on all the other cars with creating driving reaction. And I don't really have an explanation why. It's just, the car has just been there for me. Like, I haven't had one issue with it. It's just this thing that works, and it works beautifully. And like it works so well in my life that it kind of just disappears as well. And a lot of it as well is that, like, this is my wife's car, so she drives it, and I know she loves this vehicle. Like, it's so reliable, it's so fun for her, it makes her commute that much better. And so it's kind of, for me, it's a lot out of sight, out of mind, and just I don't get a lot of hands-on. Like, I remember the first time I drove this car, or I drove a Leaf. Went to the dealership, first electric vehicle I'd ever been in, and I was just mind blown about what a car could be. Like, I was like, it feels like a car, but better. And that was like that was so game changing for me, because like I don't know what I expected. Like, if I expected like a golf cart experience or just a really poor driving experience or what. But it was just like, holy crap, this exists. And now, 2017, this exists at a really low price, but it also exists new in like a way better version. Like, tons more range, faster performance, like cooler styling. I'll say it's cooler, more mainstream styling. That exists now. That's so awesome. So, thanks for watching the video. I'm going to be trying to make more videos. As I've mentioned before, leave comments, ask questions, I answer, I like things. I like connecting with people, okay? And if you haven't driven an electric vehicle, do it. Go drive a used Leaf. Chances are there's one in your area that you could test drive. You may not buy it, but you should test drive it and experience it. So, hopefully it's not too long for my next video. Thanks for the support. Talk to you again in the future. Bye. I know I just said goodbye, but just in case you want to see how you charge a Leaf, let's do it. This camera also doesn't have like the best of quality, but okay. I popped the front. I don't know anything. What? There's a scratch there. Oh, it's an old car. Nope. There's a Leaf. There's a big thing there. That's where my rapid charger should be, but in Canada, the top-end version, the rapid charger was optional, and I bought this in 2013 new, so stock was limited, but I got a big discount. So that's the charger we're using. That's your level 2. Level 2. Oh, that contrast is going to be bad. I have this Sun Country Highway EV charger. It's pretty basic. It was cheap. So essentially, see this little finger? Man, that's dirty. Yeah. That's it. That's all you do. And see the little lights up there? That's kind of like your state of charge. If we were really low, that first light would be blinking. Since we're kind of at the bottom of the middle range, or actually no, I guess we are exactly 50%. The middle one's flashing, and then once we get about 80% or whatever, that one will flash. And once it's all full, that means it's fully charged. So, yeah. Let's charge in a car. See ya.